Hello, and thanks for stopping by to check out this build. What we have here is something that I'm calling the space helicopter, or maybe like an aerospace helicopter. It would be a vehicle that would operate like a helicopter in the atmosphere and with space capabilities, or be able to fly in beyond the atmosphere. I know, completely unlikely and impossible, but that's what I got going on here. That's what I made. Or that's what I was thinking about. This is really based off of old drawing I did a long time ago. Gosh, probably middle school or so, when what was going on at the time was maybe I think it was Robotech, and that's what inspired this design. Was a ship on that show, the middle show, the second set of series. I think it was. I can't remember the name of the fighter craft. I think it was like the Logan. I want to say, but I don't quote me on that one. I might not have it right. Um, so I had originally printed this a while back on the Ultimaker, not the color print here that you're seeing. I lost it once along the way during a big move. I don't know if it got thrown out or just lost in the shuffle, but um, I did not have any 3D printers for a long time, so I went out and got the Bamboo Lab Carbon. Was it the Carbon X1? And I wanted to recreate this thing in color with how I originally saw it in my mind's eye. And maybe ended up being a little garish with the color scheme, but uh, it is what it is. And I was able to produce it. Um, so we finally got it back together from the original model and created the model kit, I guess you would say. And here we are going to try to put this together. Um, this thing took probably about a week or so to print, not because there was any difficulties in the print itself. Actually, it came out was very smooth process getting it out into reality here, or actually getting it to print. The printer worked flawlessly. However, when you print those colors, that color scheme, I think that front section alone took close to 16 hours, and then the body maybe another 10. And between the printing and me setting up the prints in the model and trying to fix the model, because the model was originally in 3D Studio Max that I had made it, and porting it over to Blender, I was having all kinds of strange things happen to the OBJ file. The file that would come out of 3D Studio Max would the OBJ that you would export from 3D Studio Max would just load into nothing, or nothing would come up when I loaded the exported OBJ file. So I went with the 3D Studio, the old 3D Studio file, not the MAX file, and that seemed to work. However, all the origin points were all screwed up, and just took a long time to rebuild it, get that model set back up in Blender. And I couldn't save the file after I had modified it. It was the darndest thing. Every time I got it all set up and re-prepared, the file would not save, or when I reloaded it, it was back in its original state. And I checked the file location just to make sure it wasn't doing something boneheaded, like loading the wrong file over and over and over. But I don't know. That's a bit of a mystery at the moment. But here we have pretty much the finished pieces, and just finalizing this build. We have the front end together, and that looks fairly decent. Just super gluing it. I didn't create any fasteners or pins or like dovetail stuff, so it would fit together nicely. Maybe in version 3 I could, but I doubt it. The super glue is just so much easier to deal with. and that's going to be the post or the holding section for the helicopter shaft, or the shaft that holds the blade on there. And that's just a little tube with a flange shaped on there, and then, or that little cylinder has a flange in there, and there's a cutout in that tube. Nothing fancy. That should go together nicely. I had two sets of them, one too small. This one's just right. I had to kind of tweak the scale in the model. I think some of the stuff got a little skewed when I exported it. It was just very strange. I'm sure I did something wrong. I just don't know what it would have been. It should have just been pretty much 1-to-1 from the original model to this. All right, so this piece is going to be a little tricky. And why don't I have it? There we go. Let's see if I can get this. Hang on. Just got to press fit these things in. Jeez, come on, man. Okay, there we go. So what I have here is a little hinge, and that hinge will be held, those are two separate pieces, and that hinge will be held on there by this bottom plate, and that glue really has to work to hold it on there. Because what this helicopter will do, or what that blade will do, is shift forward or flip forward so it can turn into the spacecraft, I guess, or jet fighter mode. Yeah, we'll see that in a little bit here. Just need to get that to cure to some degree. All right, here we are. Let's see if we can get this. What? All right, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. That'll lift up and rotate a bit. And this, out of the three rotors, this third one will flip back and become a mount for those engine pieces for the jet turbine engines that will slide on the back of it. And I'm going to put the other rotors on here. I just need to flatten out. There's a bit of a foot that came off the bottom of those blades when it printed. Just kind of get rid of that. And it's good to see my hands aren't completely filthy for a change. I'll go do my oil change after I make the video. Alright, nice. And that's what's going to happen there. We'll just get rid of that, clean that up a little bit. Probably don't need to mess with it anymore. Good enough. And you can kind of see the resolution on the print isn't the best. I might have been able to play with it a little bit more to see what I could get out of it by modifying some of the settings. But everything here is just the stock export from Bamboo Labs. Still pretty decent for a color print. I know the printer came with some test prints that they come out amazing. You can't even see any of the lines from the filament or any of the striations. I don't know how they did that. I've monkeyed with the settings for hours and hours and hours, and have gotten nowhere near as close as what they got on some of their sample files that ship with the printer. All right, let's get that guy on there. So the build part, the initial creation of it was not much happening with that. So not a lot to see there, other than me monkeying around with this stupid import file and trying to understand why it wasn't working as it should, or laying out in Blender like it should, and fixing it multiple times over and over. That got a little frustrating. No one wanted to see that, I'm sure. All right, that is looking good. One more to go. Nice. That'll stay nice and snug. Unless I drop it. Alright. There you go. There's our blades. And there's the center hub with the folding blade. Let's see if we can. And those two holes on the wing, there are bombs or fuel tank kind of things you could stuff in those peg holes for when it's in airplane mode. And in the middle here will go the shaft peg. I don't necessarily know I'm going to be able to center it too precisely. I'm just going to lay it on top of there. That's what'll happen when it goes into a jet. When it turns into a jet, sort of, I guess, what would be reminiscent of maybe Mask, the old toys, but those were like cars that turned into helicopters, not totally Transformers, but some strange situation in between. Let's plop it on there. There. It's kind of centered. Doesn't wobble too much. Although it's not a very good test. Alright, now we'll put this tail on and learn some lessons here. Try not to use too much super glue in case I mess it up, and I can just pop it off. Put a little super glue smiley face on there and hold that on there. Plus it seems to dry a little quicker with only a few drops of super glue. And if I really want to weld it on there, I can drop some more in through those seams. It seems to be holding. It's hairy. It's got all kinds of little plastic fuzz on it. All right, almost there. What's next on the list of things here? Okay, we got to put those back fins on. Let's hit those. Nice and easy. One more to go. And this is pretty much the whole shebang with no post-production or cleaning it up. Or just what you see is what you get right off the printer. I think if I were to redo this, I would print the colored parts separately, just to speed along the print process and give it a cleaner build. Probably get rid of some of those seams, maybe resplit the parts, or redesign that tail so I didn't have to split it down the middle with having that big seam. This thing, come on, man. All right, got to get that cylinder disc thing on there. There we go. Now that, oh, is that the right size? All right, I'm not going to glue these together. I'm just going to, they just need to kind of hold their position in that hole where they're going to recede or be recessed into. And I'm going to just kind of drop it in there and put that glue on the bottom of those pieces, and it'll hopefully just stay there. Okay, I think that's basically our space chopper, space copter. There. From 7th grade to 2024 on a 3D printer. Looks kind of cool. Turned out decent. No, we'll just flip this back. There's a little, I forgot something here. There's a little fin that goes on the back of that tail that I did not get. Okay. Yeah, that's on there good. At least that tried. Well, let's put these together first. These are the engines, the jet engines, which will slide onto the back of that blade. I guess I had in mind that would be the forward motivation or the forward power when it was in jet mode. And I came up with two designs: that cylindrical style, and then this more squat style. And I had, excuse me, had a little bit of a issue on the print. It looks like I didn't notice that until now. And you know what? This one is just a little too scaled up too. I think that channel that it's going to slide on is a little too big. It shouldn't be that big. It's going to go way too far up the blade. Farther up the blade than I had in mind. I guess it really doesn't matter. Alright, back to airplane mode. Let's see what happens here. And that would be your jet engine. But I forgot a piece, man. Bummer. Nice. There's your jet. I actually think I like that round one better. There's this little fin. It's supposed to stick up off the back of that, um, sort of off the spine of that tail, and fit into this little. Let me see if I can position it. I think that thing is too. I'm gonna have to reprint that, and it would fit there, right there, onto that spine, and kind of lock that blade in place when it comes down into that little pit, that little hole in the blade. Oh. So that when it was in when it's in jet mode, see? So when it's in jet mode, it won't flop around, and that would lock into place. Oh well, that's basically it though. Yay. Oops. I think I see if I had that little pin in there, that none of that would happen. All right, looking good. Nonetheless, it's cool. Cool to get it out. Get it out of my head. And that's where those pods would go. You could get like some fuel tanks and some missile pods or whatever and pop them in there. I have those available to print, but the scale wasn't right. I just didn't feel like farting around with a blender anymore. All right. Yeah, that is a little bigger. It's going to slide way up there. So the only problem with that would be that it would be sliding where that pin would be. And then it would prevent you from locking it in place. That's easy enough fix. I could just make another one. Scale it down a little bit when I feel like it. But you guys get the idea. This is what we got. All right. That is the space chopper. Thanks for watching, tuning in, and hope you enjoyed the creation of a vehicle that will never actually be built. The space chopper can never actually fly in space in a helicopter. Okay. See you guys. Thank you. Bye.